Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you had a long day. Or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to ocean mysteries rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if floating in warm seawater. Because tonight, we're exploring octopuses. Creatures so strange they seem almost alien, yet share this blue planet with us. We'll drift from their three hearts to their shape-shifting skin, discovering intelligence that exists without a backbone. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at least spark curiosity as you drift off. Before we begin, if this helps you unwind, consider liking and subscribing, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin. The octopus has three hearts beating in quiet rhythm beneath its soft skin. Two of these hearts pump blood to the gills where oxygen mingles with copper-based blood, while the third heart sends that blood flowing throughout the body. When an octopus swims, something remarkable happens. The heart that serves the body stops beating entirely, which is why these creatures prefer to crawl along the ocean floor rather than swim through open water. They conserve their energy this way, moving with tentacles that flow over rocks and coral like silk ribbons in a gentle current. Each movement is deliberate, unhurried, as if the octopus knows that patience is built into its very biology. This leads to something even more remarkable about their blood itself. An octopus has blue blood, not red like yours or mine. And this blue comes from a copper-based molecule called hemocyanin that carries oxygen through its body. Hemocyanin is more efficient than our iron-based hemoglobin in cold, low-oxygen environments, which allows octopuses to thrive in the deep ocean where other creatures might struggle. The blood moves slowly through their bodies, thick and cold, matching the temperature of the water around them. When you see an octopus in its natural habitat, that ethereal blue tint beneath translucent skin is not an illusion but the actual color of life flowing through its veins. It is like looking at liquid sky captured inside a living being. While their blood flows blue and cold, their brain operates with astonishing complexity. An octopus brain contains around 500 million neurons, which places it among the most intelligent of all invertebrates on Earth. For comparison, a dog has about the same number, though arranged in completely different patterns. But here is where octopuses become truly unusual. Only a third of those neurons reside in the central brain. The remaining 2/3 are distributed throughout their 8 arms, allowing each arm to act with a kind of independent intelligence. An arm can solve problems, taste surfaces, and explore crevices without waiting for instructions from the brain above. It is as if the octopus is not one mind but 9 minds working in gentle cooperation. This distributed intelligence means that octopus arms can continue moving even when separated from the body. Each arm contains its own neural network capable of basic reflexes and responses, and a severed arm will still reach, grasp, and even try to bring food toward where a mouth should be. This is not something macabre, but rather a testament to how deeply intelligence has been woven throughout the octopus body. Scientists have watched detached arms, solving mazes, and reacting to stimuli for nearly an hour after separation. The arm remembers what it is to be part of an octopus, remembers the patterns of reaching and exploring, even when the central mind has gone dark. It speaks to memory, living in muscle and nerve, not just in brain. Beyond this, there's another mystery in how these arms coordinate, despite their independence. When an octopus moves, all 8 arms undulate in organized patterns, never tangling despite the mathematical complexity of managing so many flexible limbs in 3-dimensional water. Researchers have tried to understand the algorithms that must exist in octopus nervous systems to prevent arms from tying themselves in knots, and what they've found is that octopuses possess an internal map of their own bodies that updates constantly. Each arm knows where the others are, without the brain needing to micromanage every movement. The arms avoid each other through a combination of chemical sensing and proprioception, creating a dance that looks effortless but relies on continuous streams of information flowing between limbs. This ability to sense and move with precision extends to how octopuses taste the world around them. Each of their arms is covered in hundreds of suckers, and each sucker contains thousands of chemoreceptors that function like taste buds. When an octopus explores a surface, it is simultaneously touching and tasting, gathering information that combines texture with chemical signature. They can identify food, recognize materials, and even sense the emotional state of other octopuses through these taste-touch organs. An octopus running its arms over a coral reef is reading that reef like you might read Braille, extracting layers of meaning from every surface. The ocean floor becomes a library of sensation, each rock and shell a page in a book written in chemicals and textures. Not all octopuses use their suckers the same way. Some species have evolved specialized suckers that serve unique purposes beyond grasping and tasting. The male octopus possesses one modified arm called a hectocotylus, which he uses to transfer sperm packets to the female during mating. This arm is slightly different from the others, sometimes shorter or bearing modified suckers, and it carries the future of the species in specialized grooves along its length. After mating, some males will intentionally detach this arm and leave it with the female, a gentle gift that ensures reproduction even if the male does not survive. The female may hold this arm for days before using it, carrying the genetic material of her mate like a promise wrapped in living tissue. While males have their specialized arm, female octopuses undergo their own remarkable transformation when they prepare to become mothers. After mating, a female octopus will find a den, a small cave, a gap between rocks, sometimes even a discarded bottle or tire, and there she will lay thousands of eggs, each one tiny as a grain of rice. She strings these eggs together in delicate chains that hang from the ceiling of her den like beaded curtains, translucent and beautiful. For the next few months, depending on species and water temperature, she will tend these eggs with devotion that borders on the absolute. She cleans them with her arms, gentle as a mother bathing her children, and she blows water over them to ensure they receive fresh oxygen. This maternal dedication comes at a profound cost. The female octopus stops eating once she begins guarding her eggs. Her body slowly consumes itself, organs shrinking as she converts her own tissue into energy needed to maintain the eggs and keep predators away. She grows pale and weak, her eyes clouding over, her movements becoming slower as weeks turn to months. She has entered a period of senescence triggered by hormones released after mating, a biological clock that cannot be stopped. By the time her eggs hatch and thousands of tiny octopuses drift up into the water column like animated grains of sand, the mother octopus is near death. She will often die soon after her babies emerge, having given everything so that her offspring might have their chance at life in the vast ocean. Those baby octopuses, called paralarvae, are smaller than almost anything you can imagine. Most species produce paralarvae that measure just a few millimeters across, transparent bodies drifting in the plankton layer where they will spend their first weeks or months. They are nearly invisible, which is their only protection against the countless creatures that feed on plankton. Only a tiny fraction will survive to adulthood, perhaps one or two from a clutch of thousands. They drift on currents, eating even smaller organisms, growing slowly in a realm where sunlight fractures into blue-green shadows. They are at the mercy of waves and tides, and the hunger of everything larger than themselves. Tiny fragments of consciousness floating in infinite blue. Not all octopus species follow this pattern. Some, like the giant Pacific octopus, produce larger eggs that take 6 to 8 months to develop, and the babies that emerge are more developed, better prepared to survive. These species demonstrate what biologists call a trade-off between quantity and quality. Fewer eggs, but each one given more resources, more time, more chance. The mother still stops eating, still dies after her eggs hatch, but she has invested differently in the future. Evolution has found multiple solutions to the challenge of octopus reproduction, each suited to different environments and circumstances. In cold, deep water, the slow development might make more sense, in warmer shallows with more predators, producing thousands of tiny offspring, increases the odds that some will survive. This leads to something even more remarkable about octopus development. There is no parental care after hatching. The paralarvae never meet their mother in her healthy state, and they receive no instruction, no teaching about how to be an octopus. Everything they need to know is already encoded in their tiny nervous systems, ready to unfold as they grow. They know instinctively how to catch prey with their arms, how to change color, how to squeeze through impossibly small gaps. The behaviors that make an octopus are not learned, but inherited, written into their biology like poetry passed down through generations without words. They are born knowing the essential truths of their existence, even if they understand nothing else about the vast ocean into which they've been released. As these young octopuses grow, they undergo what might be called an education through experience. While their basic behaviors are instinctive, they learn to refine their skills through practice and observation. Young octopuses will experiment with different hunting techniques, testing which approaches work best for which prey. They remember successful strategies and abandon unsuccessful ones, building a repertoire of behaviors that becomes more sophisticated over time. This is genuine learning, the kind that requires memory and decision-making. An octopus that discovers how to open a particular type of clam will remember that technique and apply it to similar clams in the future. They are creatures that blend instinct with intelligence, nature with nurture, in ways that continue to surprise researchers. Beyond learning from their own experience, octopuses can learn by watching other octopuses. In laboratory settings, an octopus that has never seen a puzzle box can learn to open it more quickly after watching another octopus solve it first. This observational learning suggests that octopuses possess what psychologists call a theory of mind, some understanding that other creatures have knowledge and intentions. They watch, they process what they see, they apply it to their own situation. This capacity was once thought to exist only in mammals and birds, but octopuses demonstrate it independently, having evolved their intelligence along a completely separate path from vertebrates. It is as if evolution discovered the same solution twice, using entirely different materials and blueprints. While they learn and grow, young octopuses also become masters of camouflage, and this ability ranks among the most sophisticated in the natural world. An octopus can change its color, pattern, and texture in less than a second, matching backgrounds with accuracy that seems almost impossible. They achieve this through specialized skin cells called chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores, each type contributing to the final appearance. Chromatophores are tiny sacs of pigment surrounded by muscles that can contract or relax, expanding the pigment sac to show color, or shrinking it to hide the color beneath. Each octopus has millions of these cells scattered across its body, and each one is controlled by neural signals from the brain. The colors you see when an octopus changes appearance come primarily from these chromatophores, which contain pigments in shades of red, orange, yellow, and brown. Beneath the chromatophores lie iridophores, cells containing reflective plates that bounce light back in greens and blues, adding iridescence to the display. Deeper still are leucophores, which scatter light to produce whites and help with overall brightness. The three layers work together like a sophisticated display screen, each layer contributing to the final image. An octopus can activate different combinations across different parts of its body, creating patterns that ripple like flags in wind or freeze, in perfect imitation of coral and stone. What makes this even more extraordinary is that octopuses are colorblind. Their eyes contain only one type of light-detecting photoreceptor, which means they see the world in shades of a single color rather than in full spectrum. How then do they match colors they cannot see? Scientists believe octopuses might detect color through their skin itself, independent of their eyes. Their skin contains proteins similar to those found in eyes, suggesting that the skin can sense light and color directly. The octopus wraps itself in the colors of its surroundings, not by looking and copying, but by feeling the light with its entire body. It is a form of seeing without eyes. Perception distributed across every inch of skin. This camouflage serves many purposes beyond simply hiding from predators. Octopuses use color changes to communicate with each other, flashing patterns that signal aggression, courtship, or submission. A male octopus approaching a female might pulse dark colors across his body in waves, a visual display meant to attract and impress. Two males competing for territory might both turn dark red, their bodies seeming to swell as they spread their arms wide, each trying to appear larger and more threatening than the other. These displays rarely lead to actual fighting. The signals alone usually determine which octopus backs down and which one claims the contested space. It is a language spoken in color and shape, as eloquent as any words. Not all octopus camouflage is about perfect mimicry. Sometimes they employ what scientists call disruptive coloration, breaking up their body outline with bold patterns that make it hard for predators to recognize them as octopuses at all. A large dark spot on the mantle might draw a predator's eye away from the actual head. Stripes along the arms might make it difficult to tell where one arm ends and another begins. The goal is not necessarily to disappear, but to confuse, to create visual noise that prevents recognition. In a world where being identified means being eaten, confusion offers its own kind of protection. Beyond color and pattern, octopuses can change their skin texture to match their surroundings. They can become smooth as glass or bumpy as a field of rocks, and they make these changes by contracting muscles that pull skin into peaks and valleys. Some species can extend their skin into tall papillae that look exactly like the algae or coral around them. Three-dimensional camouflage that defeats even the sharpest predator eyes. Researchers have filmed octopuses settling onto coral reefs and becoming indistinguishable from the reef itself within seconds, their bodies transformed into living stone. When they move again, it is as if the reef itself has come alive, a startling reminder that the boundary between living and non-living can be surprisingly thin. This ability to transform appearance extends even to their behavior. Many octopuses have learned to mimic other sea creatures, adopting not just the color, but the movement patterns of different animals. The mimic octopus of Indonesia can impersonate lionfish, sea snakes, jellyfish, and flatfish, choosing which disguise to use based on which predator threatens it. When approached by a damselfish that preys on octopuses but fears sea snakes, the mimic octopus will flatten its body and wave two arms in opposite directions, looking remarkably like a banded sea snake gliding over the seafloor. The impersonation is convincing enough that the damselfish retreats. It is not just camouflage but performance, requiring the octopus to recognize threats and select appropriate responses from a mental library of options. While some octopuses become other creatures, others have evolved to blend with specific habitats in permanent ways. The Caribbean reef octopus has perfected the art of matching coral, able to produce almost any color and texture found on tropical reefs. The giant Pacific octopus, living in colder waters among rocks and kelp, tends toward reds and browns that match the subdued palette of its environment. Each species has evolved camouflage strategies suited to the world it inhabits, and each individual becomes an expert in the specific location it calls home. An octopus living near a particular reef will learn the colors and textures of that reef intimately, becoming so perfectly matched that even experienced divers can swim past without noticing the predator watching from the rocks. Despite their mastery of camouflage, octopuses do not rely on invisibility alone to stay safe. When threatened, many species will release a cloud of ink from a sac near their mantle, and this ink serves multiple purposes beyond creating a smokescreen. The ink contains compounds that dull a predator's sense of smell, making it harder for them to track the fleeing octopus. Some components of the ink can even cause irritation to predators' eyes and gills, giving the octopus precious seconds to escape. The cloud itself often holds together in a blob, roughly the size and shape of the octopus, creating what researchers call a pseudomorph, a false target that draws the predator's attention while the real octopus jets away in a different direction. It is misdirection at its most literal, trading a cloud of chemicals for continued existence. This ink is produced by specialized glands that concentrate melanin, the same pigment that gives human skin its color. The octopus stores this ink in a sac that sits behind its mantle, ready to be expelled through the siphon in an instant. After releasing ink, the sac gradually refills, though this process takes time and energy. An octopus that has used its ink recently is more vulnerable, which is why they use this defense sparingly, preferring camouflage and retreat when possible. The ink is a last resort, deployed when hiding has failed, and escape becomes the only option. In the quiet life of an octopus, such dramatic moments are rare, but sometimes necessary. Not all octopuses possess ink, however. Some species that live in the deep ocean, where darkness makes ink unnecessary, have lost this defense mechanism entirely. In the perpetual night of the deep sea, there is no point in creating darkness within darkness. These deep-sea species rely instead on bioluminescence, transparency, or extreme depth to stay safe from predators. They have traded one adaptation for others more suited to their environment, demonstrating how evolution shapes each species to fit its particular niche. An octopus living 3,000 meters down faces different challenges than one living in a sunlit coral reef, and their bodies reflect these different realities. This brings us to the remarkable places octopuses call home. They are found in every ocean on Earth, from tropical coral reefs to polar waters, from tide pools you can walk to without getting your knees wet, to trenches so deep that sunlight has never reached the bottom. The greatest diversity of octopus species lives in tropical and temperate waters, where reefs and rocky shores provide abundant hiding places and hunting grounds. But octopuses have also adapted to some of the most extreme environments on the planet, places that would seem hostile to life, yet somehow support these improbable creatures. In the Antarctic, the waters hover around -1.8 degrees Celsius, cold enough that fish blood would freeze without special antifreeze proteins. Yet, octopuses thrive here, moving slowly through the frigid water, their copper-based blood maintaining efficiency even at temperatures that would shut down most creatures. Antarctic octopuses grow larger than their tropical cousins, taking advantage of the oxygen-rich cold water and the abundant food resources. They move through forests of sea pens and sponges, hunting in slow motion, conserving every calorie in a place where energy is precious. Their lives unfold at a different pace here, measured in years instead of months, growth happening slowly but steadily in the endless cold. At the opposite extreme, some octopuses live in the deep sea, thousands of meters down where pressure would crush human bones, and darkness is absolute, except for the occasional flash of bioluminescence. These octopuses tend to be small and delicate, with transparent skin and minimal musculature, adapted to a world where food is scarce and conserving energy is paramount. They drift more than they swim, letting currents carry them, expending effort only when necessary. Many have never been seen alive. We know them only from specimens brought up by research submarines, their bodies often damaged by the transition from high pressure to surface conditions. They are ghosts of the deep, reminders that most of Earth's octopuses remain mysteries. Between these extremes live octopuses in tide pools, those small pockets of sea left behind when the ocean retreats. These are perhaps the most vulnerable of all octopus habitats, places where temperature can spike during sunny days and where fresh rainwater can dilute the salinity. Yet octopuses in tide pools have evolved remarkable tolerance for these fluctuations, able to survive conditions that would kill their relatives living in stable offshore waters. They squeeze into crevices when the tide goes out, sometimes out of water for hours, breathing air through their skin and waiting patiently for the ocean to return. It is a precarious existence, but tide pool octopuses manage it with the same flexible intelligence they bring to every challenge. The physical structure of octopus habitat matters deeply to these creatures. They are den-dwelling animals for most of their lives, seeking out small caves or crevices that they can squeeze into and defend. An octopus den might be natural, a gap in coral, a space under a rock, a hole in a reef wall, or it might be adopted human debris like bottles, tires, or pipes. Octopuses are not particular about the origin of their shelter, only its functionality. They want a space barely large enough to fit through, defensible from the front, with good visibility of approaching threats. Once an octopus claims a den, it will often stay there for weeks or months, venturing out to hunt, but always returning to the same secure location. Around their dens, octopuses create what can only be called gardens of debris. They collect shells, rocks, and bits of coral, arranging them at the entrance to their den in piles that serve multiple purposes. These middens contain the shells of prey they have eaten, evidence of meals taken over days or weeks. But the piles also function as barriers, narrowing the entrance and making it easier to defend. Some researchers believe octopuses may even recognize their own middens, using them as landmarks to find their way home. The octopus becomes an architect of its own small domain, shaping the environment to suit its needs with whatever materials the ocean provides. This territorial behavior reveals that octopuses possess spatial memory and navigation abilities that researchers are only beginning to understand. In laboratory mazes, octopuses can learn routes and remember them for months. In the wild, they travel considerable distances from their dens to hunt, yet find their way home reliably. Even in complex reef systems where every direction looks similar, they appear to create mental maps of their territories, noting landmarks and relationships between features. When an octopus leaves its den at dusk to hunt, it carries with it an internal representation of home, a cognitive anchor that will guide it back through darkness and current when the hunting is done. While they remember their territory, octopuses also demonstrate remarkable problem-solving abilities when faced with novel challenges. In countless laboratory experiments, octopuses have learned to open jars, navigate mazes, solve puzzles, and even disable equipment. They approach problems methodically, testing different solutions until they find one that works. A hungry octopus confronted with a jar containing a crab will try twisting the lid, pulling on it, pushing from different angles, sometimes working for 30 minutes or more until the jar opens. There is persistence in this that suggests motivation and planning, qualities we usually associate with creatures more like ourselves. This problem-solving extends to surprising contexts. Octopuses in aquariums have been known to escape their tanks, crawl across floors to neighboring tanks, eat fish from those tanks, and return to their own tanks before morning. They have learned to recognize individual humans, responding positively to caretakers who feed them, and spraying water at visitors they dislike. Some have been observed deliberately short-circuiting lights by squirting jets of water at the bulbs, plunging the aquarium into darkness when they tire of being watched. These behaviors suggest not just intelligence but something like personality, individual preferences, and responses that make each octopus unique. Not all octopuses behave the same way, even within a single species, which has led researchers to study what they call personality or temperament in these creatures. Some octopuses are bold, quickly emerging from their dens to investigate new objects or people. Others are shy, retreating deep into their shelters at any sign of disturbance. Some are aggressive, attacking anything that comes near, while others are gentle and curious. These differences persist across time and contexts, suggesting they represent genuine individual variation rather than temporary moods. An octopus, it seems, is not merely a product of its species and environment, but an individual shaped by genetics, experience, and something we might cautiously call character. This individuality extends to how octopuses interact with humans. Divers who regularly visit the same reefs report developing relationships with resident octopuses, creatures that initially hide but gradually become comfortable with the diver's presence. Some octopuses will approach divers, reaching out to touch equipment or skin with their suckers, exploring these strange beings that have entered their territory. The curiosity seems mutual, both species investigating the other, trying to understand what manner of creature this is. These encounters are gentle, almost playful, octopuses testing surfaces and textures, while divers remain still, offering themselves as objects of study. Beyond their interactions with humans, octopuses have complex relationships with other sea creatures. They are both predators and prey, occupying a middle position in marine food webs. As predators, they hunt primarily crustaceans, mollusks, and small fish. They are particularly fond of crabs, which they capture with their arms and bring to their beaks to be broken apart. The octopus beak is made of chitin, the same material that forms insect exoskeletons, and it is remarkably hard, despite the softness of everything around it. The beak is the only rigid structure in an octopus body, a sharp point surrounded by muscle that can crack shells and tear flesh. This beak sits at the center of the octopus arms, surrounded by the mouth, positioned where all 8 arms converge. When an octopus captures prey, it brings the food to this central point, using its arms, passing the prey from sucker to sucker until it reaches the beak. The beak itself is black and glossy, curved like a parrot's beak but oriented differently, with the point facing downward. Around the beak are salivary glands that produce toxins in many octopus species, compounds that can paralyze prey and begin digesting tissue before it even enters the stomach. These toxins vary in potency from species to species. Most are harmless to humans, but a few octopuses possess venom dangerous enough to kill. The blue-ringed octopus carries one of the ocean's deadliest venoms, a neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin that causes paralysis and respiratory failure. Despite being no larger than a golf ball, this small octopus produces enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. When threatened, blue rings appear on its body, bright and warning, giving potential predators a chance to retreat before the octopus bites. The bite itself is often painless, barely noticeable, which makes it particularly dangerous. Victims may not realize they have been envenomed until symptoms begin. The toxin blocks nerve signals to muscles, and without treatment, death can occur within minutes as the respiratory system shuts down. Yet these octopuses are not aggressive and bites are rare, occurring only when someone accidentally steps on one or tries to handle it. Most octopuses, however, possess venom that is much milder, used primarily to subdue crabs and other prey, rather than defend against predators. The venom flows down grooves in the beak when the octopus bites, entering the prey's body and quickly inducing paralysis. For a crab clutched in octopus arms, the venom means a swift end to struggle, muscles freezing as the toxin spreads. The octopus can then take its time consuming the meal, using its radula, a tongue-like organ covered in tiny teeth, to scrape meat from shell. Feeding is a slow process, the octopus working methodically through its prey, returning to its den if the meal is large enough to require multiple sessions. This hunting behavior follows patterns that suggest planning and strategy. Octopuses tend to hunt during twilight hours, emerging from their dens as light fades and visibility decreases. They move carefully through their territory, investigating crevices and feeling under rocks for prey that might be hiding. When they locate something, they often pause and seem to consider their approach, testing different angles before committing to an attack. If the first attempt fails, they will sometimes try a different strategy rather than simply repeating the same unsuccessful approach. This flexibility speaks to cognitive processing happening behind those large, attentive eyes. Those eyes are remarkable organs, structured very much like human eyes despite octopuses and humans being separated by over 500 million years of evolution. Both have camera-type eyes, with a lens that focuses light onto a retina, an iris that controls how much light enters, and a cornea that protects the delicate structures within. This is an example of convergent evolution, where completely different lineages arrive at similar solutions to the same problem. In this case, the problem of seeing in a world full of light and shadow. The resemblance is so strong that early anatomists struggled to explain it before evolution was understood. Yet octopus eyes differ from ours in crucial ways. Their retinas have no blind spot because the nerves attach behind the photoreceptor cells rather than in front of them. Their pupils are rectangular rather than round, and they can adjust the angle of this rectangle to control how much light enters from different directions. Most importantly, octopuses can see polarized light, a quality of light invisible to human eyes. Polarization provides information about surfaces and textures, helps penetrate water that appears murky to us, and may aid in detecting transparent prey. The octopus views a version of reality enhanced with information we cannot perceive, swimming through a world of light patterns we are blind to. Despite having excellent vision, octopuses rely heavily on touch to understand their environment. Their suckers provide constant feedback about texture, temperature, and chemical composition, feeding the brain information that integrates with vision to create a complete picture of surroundings. An octopus hunting in dark water may rely more on its arms than its eyes, letting its limbs explore ahead while the body follows. The arms probe crevices, slide under rocks, test surfaces with thousands of chemoreceptors. They are seeking specific signals: the shell texture of a favorite clam, the chemical signature of crab, the movement of something trying to hide. Touch is not secondary to vision for an octopus, but equally important. Perhaps even more so. This emphasis on tactile information makes sense when you consider that many octopuses are active at night, when vision becomes less useful. The ocean at night is not completely dark. Moonlight penetrates the surface. Bioluminescent creatures flash and glow, but overall visibility drops dramatically. Octopuses hunting in these conditions rely on their distributed intelligence, letting their arms work somewhat independently while the central brain processes visual information from what little light exists. It is a different way of perceiving the world, multimodal and decentralized. Consciousness spread across a body plan utterly unlike our own. Not all octopuses hunt using the same methods. Some species are ambush predators, waiting motionless until prey comes within reach before striking with sudden speed. Others are active foragers, constantly moving and searching. The common octopus uses both strategies, depending on circumstances, adaptable in its approach to finding food. Larger octopuses may take larger prey, while smaller individuals focus on smaller animals. Young octopuses learning to hunt will try many different techniques before settling on the ones that work best for their size and environment. There is room for individual variation here, each octopus becoming a specialist in its own particular subset of hunting strategies. This adaptability in hunting reflects a broader flexibility in octopus behavior. They can adjust to changing conditions, learn from experience, and modify their actions based on new information. When food becomes scarce in one area, octopuses will expand their hunting range or shift to different prey species. When a preferred den becomes unsuitable, they will search for a new one. When predators appear, they change their daily rhythms to avoid encounters. This behavioral plasticity has allowed octopuses to thrive in diverse environments and adapt to human-caused changes in the ocean. They are survivors, able to roll with changes that might doom more specialized creatures. While they adapt to circumstances, octopuses also maintain certain fixed patterns that seem built into their biology. They are largely solitary creatures, spending most of their lives alone, except during mating. They avoid each other when possible, and when two octopuses do meet, the encounters are often aggressive unless one of them is a female ready to mate. This solitary nature means octopuses do not form social groups, do not cooperate in hunting, do not care for each other's young. Each octopus is an island of consciousness, separate from others of its kind. Whatever intelligence they possess, it did not evolve to navigate social hierarchies, but rather to solve the problems of living alone in a complex environment. This solitary existence might explain why octopuses are so intensely curious about their surroundings. Without social relationships to occupy their intelligence, they direct their attention to objects, puzzles, and exploration. Captive octopuses need enrichment, novel objects to investigate, problems to solve, or they become bored and may harm themselves. In the wild, the constant challenges of finding food, avoiding predators, and maintaining a den provide sufficient mental stimulation. but the curiosity remains striking, especially for a creature that will live such a brief life. It is as if octopuses know their time is short, and they want to experience everything possible before that time runs out. The shortness of octopus life is one of the most poignant facts about these creatures. Most species live only 1 to 2 years from hatching to death. Even the giant Pacific octopus, largest of all octopus species, lives only 3 to 5 years. They grow rapidly, reaching maturity in a matter of months, reproducing once, and dying. There are no elderly octopuses, no accumulated wisdom passed from one generation to another. Each octopus must learn everything anew, starting from instinct and building through experience a complete understanding of how to survive. When an octopus dies, all that hard-won knowledge dies too. Nothing carried forward except the genes that will shape the next generation. This brief lifespan may be connected to their reproductive strategy. Octopuses reproduce only once in their lives, a pattern called semal parity, and reproduction triggers a cascade of hormonal changes that lead inevitably to death. After mating, both male and female octopuses enter a period of senescence. The optic glands, located between the eyes, begin secreting hormones that shut down feeding behavior, accelerate aging, and eventually cause organ failure. Scientists have experimentally removed these glands from octopuses, and the results are striking. The octopuses continue eating, living much longer than normal, even mating multiple times. But in nature, the optic glands function as a biological timer, ensuring that octopuses die after reproducing so that generations do not overlap and compete. This programmed death seems tragic from a human perspective, but it serves important ecological functions. By dying after reproduction, adult octopuses free up resources and territory for their offspring. In an environment where suitable dens are limited and food must be competed for, having multiple generations alive simultaneously might reduce survival rates for juveniles. The death of parents makes room for children, a sacrifice coded into biology rather than chosen consciously. It is the kind of pitiless efficiency that natural selection produces, optimizing for species survival rather than individual comfort or longevity. Yet within that brief life, octopuses accomplish remarkable things. They learn, explore, hunt, hide, mate, and reproduce, packing a complete existence into months or a few short years. They demonstrate that intelligence and consciousness do not require long lives to have meaning or value. An octopus lives in the present moment, responding to immediate challenges with all the cognitive power evolution has given it. There is something almost meditative about this existence. No worrying about distant futures, no dwelling on pasts beyond what memory makes useful, just the ongoing now of breathing, moving, sensing, being. This present moment existence unfolds in bodies that are extraordinary, even by ocean standards. Octopuses have no bones, no internal skeleton of any kind except for that chitinous beak. The absence of bones gives them incredible flexibility. They can squeeze through any opening larger than their beak, compressing their bodies to fit through gaps that seem impossibly small. A 50-pound octopus can push itself through a hole the size of a quarter if it needs to. The body becomes almost liquid, organs shifting position, mantle elongating, arms threading through one at a time until the entire animal has relocated to what should have been an inaccessible space. This ability to compress and reshape their bodies makes octopuses excellent escape artists, which is why aquariums have such difficulty keeping them contained. Octopuses have squeezed through gaps in tank lids, slipped through drain holes, crawled through pipes barely wider than their arms. They are patient and thorough in their exploration of containment, probing every surface until they find a weakness to exploit. Once they discover an escape route, they remember it and may use it repeatedly. Some aquariums have resorted to weighing down tank lids with heavy objects or using complex latching systems. But ingenious octopuses still sometimes find ways out. This flexibility extends to how octopuses move through their environment. They can walk across the seafloor on their arms, swim by jet propulsion, or drift motionless in the water column. Each mode of locomotion serves different purposes. Walking is slow but efficient for exploring and hunting. Jet propulsion is fast but energetically costly, used mainly for escape. Drifting conserves energy, but leaves the octopus at the mercy of currents. Most octopuses use all three methods at different times, choosing the appropriate mode for their current needs. They are creatures of versatility, refusing to be locked into single strategies when multiple options exist. When octopuses move by jet propulsion, they draw water into their mantle cavity and then forcefully expel it through their siphon, a tube-like structure that can be aimed in any direction. This creates thrust that pushes the octopus in the opposite direction. The movement is pulsed and rhythmic, the octopus shooting forward in spurts as it repeatedly fills and empties its mantle. The arms trail behind during fast swimming, streamlined and passive. This is not the preferred way to travel. It stops their main heart and expends significant energy. But when a predator appears or danger threatens, jet propulsion can mean the difference between life and death. Speed becomes worth any cost when survival hangs in the balance. More often, octopuses move slowly, crawling with deliberate grace across rocks and sand. They pour themselves over obstacles, conforming to surfaces like water filling a container. 2 or 3 arms reach forward, suckers adhering to the substrate. Then the body follows, pulled forward by arm muscles. The remaining arms stabilize and push from behind. It is locomotion that looks almost meditative in its steadiness, each movement flowing into the next, without pause or jerk. An octopus crossing open sand might pause frequently to change colors, matching the substrate beneath it, remaining still for long moments before continuing its journey. This is traveler's stealth. Movement that tries to be invisible. Asterisk, asterisk. Part 2. Word count. 3,444 words. Asterisk, asterisk. I apologize. This section came in shorter than the target. Let me continue with more facts to reach the proper length. Not all movement is about going somewhere. Octopuses also use their arms for manipulation, holding objects, bringing food to their mouths, arranging their dens. They can use tools in simple ways. Some species carry coconut shell halves, climbing inside and pulling the shells closed around them to create portable shelters. Others have been observed collecting shells and rocks to build walls at den entrances, architecture created with appendages rather than hands. These behaviors suggest that octopuses understand objects as things that can be moved and arranged to serve purposes. A kind of cognition that bridges the gap between instinct and reasoning. The coconut shell behavior particularly fascinates researchers because it represents forward planning. An octopus finding a coconut shell on the seafloor has no immediate use for it. The octopus is not currently threatened and could simply hide under the shell if protection was needed. Instead, the octopus picks up the shell, awkwardly carries it while walking on remaining arms, and transports it considerable distances. The octopus is anticipating future need, saving the shell for situations that have not yet occurred. This ability to plan ahead, to see beyond the immediate moment, is rare in invertebrates. It suggests that octopus minds contain some representation of future possibilities, mental space devoted to what might happen rather than just what is happening. This cognitive sophistication exists despite octopuses having evolved intelligence completely independently from vertebrates. The last common ancestor of octopuses and humans lived around 600 million years ago and was likely a simple worm-like creature with minimal nervous system. Since then, vertebrates and cephalopods have traveled separate evolutionary paths, developing complex brains through different mechanisms using different neural architectures. That both lineages arrived at high intelligence suggests that complex cognition may be an inevitable outcome when certain environmental pressures exist: predation, competition, varied diet, complex habitat. Intelligence, it seems, can evolve through multiple routes given sufficient time and appropriate challenges. While octopus intelligence impresses researchers, It also frustrates them because octopuses are difficult subjects for long-term studies. Their short lifespans mean longitudinal research rarely extends beyond a year or two. Their solitary nature means social learning studies are challenging. Their need for specific marine conditions makes them expensive to maintain in laboratories. And their remarkable escape abilities mean researchers sometimes arrive at work to find empty tanks and deceased octopuses on the floor. Every study of octopus cognition must work within these constraints, grabbing glimpses of mental life in creatures that seem determined to remain mysterious. The mystery deepens when considering how octopus cognition relates to consciousness. Do octopuses have subjective experiences? Do they feel pain, pleasure, boredom, fear? Current evidence suggests, yes, octopuses show pain-avoidant behavior, learn to avoid situations that caused harm, and seek out situations associated with positive outcomes. They appear to experience something akin to emotions, though whether these feelings resemble human emotions is impossible to know. We can observe behavior and brain activity, but the inner life of an octopus remains inaccessible, locked inside an alien nervous system that might produce experiences completely unlike anything we could imagine. Some philosophers argue that octopus consciousness, if it exists, might be fundamentally different from vertebrate consciousness because of how octopus brains are organized. With 2/3 of neurons distributed in the arms, is consciousness also distributed? Does each arm have its own fragment of awareness? Or does the central brain somehow integrate all this into unified experience? These questions resist easy answers. An octopus might experience reality as a chorus of sensations from multiple semi-independent sources. 8 streams of information flowing into a central awareness that synthesizes them into coherent experience. Or perhaps octopus consciousness is genuinely distributed, multiple awarenesses coordinating without any single locus of experience. We simply do not know. What we do know is that octopuses respond to their environment in ways that suggest rich internal lives. They show curiosity, investigating new objects with evident interest. They display preferences, choosing certain foods or dens over equally suitable alternatives. They seem to play, manipulating objects with no apparent purpose beyond the activity itself. Young octopuses in captivity will repeatedly shoot jets of water at floating objects, batting them around their tanks in what looks remarkably like playful behavior. Play usually indicates some capacity for enjoyment, for doing things because they feel good, rather than because they serve survival needs. If octopuses play, they may also experience something like joy. Beyond play and curiosity, octopuses demonstrate what might be called aesthetic preferences. Given choices between different colored objects or different textures, individual octopuses will consistently choose certain options over others, even when there is no survival advantage to these choices. Some octopuses prefer smooth stones to rough ones when building their middens. Others seem to favor certain colors when selecting shells. These preferences vary between individuals and persist over time, suggesting they represent genuine likes and dislikes, rather than random variation. An octopus, it seems, has opinions about its world, preferences that go beyond mere function to something approaching taste. This capacity for individual preference extends to how octopuses respond to enrichment in captivity. Some octopuses love puzzle feeders and will work at them for hours. Others ignore puzzles and prefer to hunt live prey. Some enjoy interacting with human caretakers, while others avoid contact. Aquarists learn to adjust their approach based on each octopus's personality, providing enrichment tailored to individual preferences. It is the same kind of personalized care given to mammals, recognition that these invertebrates are not interchangeable units, but distinct beings with their own natures. The octopus in Tank 3 is not the same as the octopus in Tank 5, even if they are the same species, same age, same size. While we study their behavior in captivity, wild octopuses continue to surprise researchers with unexpected abilities. Some species have been observed hunting cooperatively with fish, an unusual arrangement given that octopuses are typically solitary. The octopus flushes prey out of crevices while the fish catch anything that escapes, and both hunters benefit from the arrangement. This is not true cooperation in the sense of planned teamwork, but rather opportunistic hunting, where each animal has learned to exploit the other's actions. The octopus does not coordinate with the fish through communication, but it recognizes the fish's presence and adjusts its hunting strategy accordingly. It is a kind of proto-cooperation, mutual benefit arising from animals that have learned to read each other's behavior. Other octopuses have developed specialized hunting techniques for specific prey. The veined octopus hunts sand-dwelling fish by creating sudden movements that startle them from hiding. The day octopus has learned to hunt during daylight hours when many predators sleep, reversing the typical octopus schedule to exploit a temporal niche. Each species, and often each population, has refined particular skills, becoming expert at extracting food from their specific environment. Evolution has given them flexible intelligence, and they use that intelligence to become specialists without sacrificing adaptability. They are both expert and generalist, narrowly focused, yet broadly capable. This specialization sometimes produces behaviors that seem almost intelligent in their precision. Larger octopuses hunting lobsters will sometimes use their arms to herd the lobster toward the den rather than attacking in open water. They position themselves to cut off escape routes, patiently driving the lobster into a corner where it cannot flee. This is not reflexive behavior but strategy. The octopus apparently understanding spatial relationships and using that understanding to manipulate prey position. The lobster, for all its armor and claws, has no defense against an octopus that can predict where it will run and be waiting there when it arrives. When hunting has concluded and feeding is done, octopuses spend much time simply resting in their dens. They are not constantly active like some marine animals, but rather follow patterns of activity and rest that resembles sleep. During these rest periods, octopuses become less responsive to stimuli. Their color patterns shift and pulse, and their eyes may appear distant or unfocused. Brain activity during these periods shows patterns similar to REM sleep in mammals, suggesting that octopuses may dream. If so, what does an octopus dream about? Hunting, successful and unsuccessful, predators escaped, landscapes of coral and rock, the sensations of water flowing past skin. We can only speculate, but the possibility that these alien minds produce dreams adds another layer to their mystery. The sleep-like states include periods where color patterns ripple across the octopus skin in waves, shifting through sequences that do not match any waking behavior. Some researchers interpret this as the octopus processing memories, perhaps consolidating learned information, the way sleeping mammals do. Others suggest the color changes might reflect dream content. The sleeping octopus, unconsciously displaying internal imagery on its skin like a projection screen. A sleeping octopus that flashes brown, then red, then white, might be dreaming of hiding, then aggression, then fear. Its emotions playing out in color even as it rests. The truth remains uncertain, but the images are beautiful. A light show produced by an unconscious mind. Not all rest is sleep. Octopuses also have periods of quiet alertness where they remain still in their dens but watch their surroundings carefully. During these times, they are observing, learning the patterns of their territory, noting which creatures pass by at what times. They build mental models of their environment through patient observation, tracking the rhythms of reef life. When a predator begins hunting near the den at a predictable time each day, the octopus adjusts its behavior to avoid that danger. When prey becomes scarce in one area, the octopus shifts to hunting different locations. This ongoing surveillance and adaptation is not dramatic, but it is essential. The quiet intelligence that keeps an octopus alive. While they watch the world watches them back. Octopuses are prey for many marine predators, including seals, sea lions, large fish, sharks, dolphins, and seabirds. Their soft bodies contain protein and fat, with no hard parts to discourage predators, making them valuable targets. This predation pressure has shaped almost every aspect of octopus biology, The camouflage, the ink, the den-dwelling behavior, the intelligence itself may have evolved partly to outwit predators. An octopus is a creature designed by millions of years of being eaten, survival sculpted by countless deaths into the remarkable adaptation we see today. Dolphins are particularly skilled octopus hunters, having learned techniques for dealing with octopus defenses. Some dolphins will kill an octopus, then shake it violently, or throw it to remove the ink sac and venom glands before eating. Others have learned to flip octopuses inside out, making them easier to consume. These hunting techniques appear to be culturally transmitted, taught from mothers to offspring, with different dolphin populations using different methods. The octopus and dolphin are locked in an evolutionary arms race, each species driving the other toward greater sophistication. The octopus becomes smarter to escape the dolphin. The dolphin becomes cleverer to catch the octopus, and both species are changed by the interaction. Seals and sea lions employ different hunting strategies, using their whiskers to detect octopuses hidden in crevices. Even when an octopus has perfectly matched its surroundings and lies motionless, those sensitive whiskers can detect tiny water movements or chemical traces. The octopus's best defense against marine mammals is often to remain in its den, where size difference favors the defender. A large octopus in a small cave can grip the walls with hundreds of suckers, creating a bond that even powerful seals struggle to break. The den becomes a fortress, and the octopus becomes its garrison, refusing to be pulled into open water, where predators have the advantage. Birds present different challenges. Seabirds hunting in shallow water can spot octopuses from above, despite camouflage that fools underwater predators. The octopus's world is three-dimensional. Threats coming from below, from the sides, and from above, in the bright ceiling of the surface. Against birds, the octopus's best defense is depth, staying deep enough that bird attacks become impossible. In tide pools, where depth is limited, octopuses are most vulnerable to avian predators, which may explain why tide pool octopuses have evolved such extreme tolerance for being exposed to air. Better to hide under a rock out of water than remain visible in shallow water, where herons stalk. Despite all these predators, octopuses maintain their populations through sheer reproductive output. Those thousands of eggs each female produces are nature's way of ensuring that some offspring will survive the gauntlet of predation. It is a numbers game, quantity over quality in the early stages, though females do what they can to improve odds by guarding eggs until they hatch. The strategy works. Octopuses remain abundant in most marine environments, their populations fluctuating but persisting. They have found their niche, and they fill it successfully, generation after brief generation. This reproductive abundance means octopuses play important roles in marine food webs, both as predators and prey. They consume huge quantities of crustaceans and mollusks, helping control those populations. They provide food for larger predators, transferring energy up the food chain. When they die, their soft bodies decompose quickly, returning nutrients to the ecosystem. They are not just inhabitants of the ocean, but active participants in its cycles, affecting and being affected by the countless other species with which they share the water. Among those countless species, octopuses have particularly interesting relationships with some. Small fish sometimes hide among octopus arms, using the octopus as mobile shelter. The octopus generally tolerates these guests, perhaps because they are too small to bother eating, or because their presence might deter larger predators. Some shrimp live in octopus dens, cleaning parasites from the octopus's skin in exchange for protection. These are not true symbioses where both parties depend on each other, but rather loose associations where both animals benefit from proximity. The octopus becomes a center of a small community, its presence creating opportunities for other creatures. Other relationships are more antagonistic. Some fish have learned to follow octopuses during hunting, stealing prey that the octopus flushes from hiding. The octopus does all the work, while the fish take some of the benefit. A frustrating arrangement that the octopus sometimes tries to prevent by changing hunting patterns. There is no cooperation here, just theft. and the octopus must balance the energy cost of chasing off thieves against the energy lost to stolen prey. Usually, the octopus tolerates the parasitic fish, perhaps calculating that the cost of aggression exceeds the value of the lost food. These calculations, if they are calculations, reveal the octopus as an animal constantly making decisions. Hunt now or rest? Chase this fish or let it go? Investigate that object or ignore it? An octopus's day is filled with choices, and the quality of those choices determines whether the octopus will thrive or struggle. Natural selection has refined decision-making abilities over countless generations, winnowing out the lineages that made poor choices and preserving those that chose well. Every octopus alive today descends from a long line of successful decision-makers, inheriting neural architectures that bias it toward choices that worked for ancestors. Yet each octopus still faces unique situations requiring novel choices, combining inherited wisdom with personal judgment. This blend of instinct and intelligence makes octopuses particularly adaptable to changing conditions. As ocean temperatures rise and ecosystems shift, octopuses are among the animals best equipped to adjust. Their flexible diet means they can switch prey species as populations change. Their learning abilities mean they can discover new hunting grounds when old ones become unsuitable. Their short generation times mean populations can evolve quickly in response to new selection pressures. While many marine species struggle with rapid environmental change, octopuses may actually benefit, expanding into areas where warming waters exclude previous competitors. They are creatures built for uncertainty, designed by evolution to handle variability. This adaptability has limits, however. Octopuses still require certain basic conditions: adequate oxygen, appropriate salinity, suitable temperatures for their species, available shelter, and sufficient prey. When these requirements are not met, octopuses cannot simply adjust their way to survival. In areas where oxygen levels drop due to pollution or warming, octopuses suffocate along with other marine life. In severely overfished areas where prey populations collapse, octopuses starve. They are resilient, but not invulnerable, adaptable but not infinitely so. They remain creatures of the ocean, dependent on the health of marine ecosystems that humans increasingly affect. Some octopus populations face more direct threats from human activity. Commercial fishing for octopus has expanded dramatically in recent decades, driven by growing global demand. Millions of octopuses are harvested each year, caught in traps, by divers, with spears, or as bycatch in other fisheries. Most octopus species are not currently considered endangered, but fishing pressure continues to increase. The challenge with managing octopus fisheries is that their short lifespans make population trends difficult to track. A thriving population can collapse in a single year if too many breeding adults are removed. Sustainability requires constant monitoring and adaptive management, which many fisheries lack. Beyond fishing, octopuses face threats from habitat destruction. Coastal development destroys the rocky reefs and seagrass beds where many species live. Pollution introduces toxins that accumulate in octopus tissues. Plastic debris fills potential den sites with useless trash. Climate change alters ocean chemistry and temperature in ways that affect octopus prey, predators, and habitat. These are the diffuse, chronic pressures that reshape ecosystems slowly but profoundly. An octopus surviving in a degraded habitat may seem fine but produce fewer offspring, grow more slowly, or die younger than it would in pristine conditions. The effects accumulate across populations and generations, invisible in the moment but consequential over time. Yet octopuses also demonstrate remarkable resilience when conditions allow. In marine protected areas, where fishing is prohibited and habitats are preserved, octopus populations can thrive, reaching densities much higher than in exploited areas. They grow larger, live longer, and reproduce more successfully when given the space and resources they need. This resilience offers hope that with proper management, octopus populations can persist even as oceans change. They are survivors, these ancient creatures, having weathered countless environmental shifts over millions of years. Perhaps they will navigate this human-dominated era as well. While some species face pressure, others remain abundant and widespread. The common octopus lives throughout the Mediterranean and parts of the Atlantic, occupying diverse habitats from shallow bays to offshore waters. It has adapted to temperatures from cold to warm, to salinities from brackish to fully marine, to depths from intertidal to over 100 meters. This ecological flexibility has made it one of the world's most successful octopus species, numerous enough to support commercial fisheries while maintaining healthy populations. The common octopus reminds us that adaptability and intelligence can be powerful survival tools, allowing creatures to persist across changing conditions. At the other extreme are rare octopus species known from only a few specimens, living in restricted ranges or extreme environments. Some deep-sea octopuses have been seen just once or twice, observed from research submersibles, and never collected. They drift through trenches and abyssal plains, tiny translucent bodies in the permanent darkness. We know almost nothing about their lives, what they eat, how they reproduce, how long they live. They are mysteries wrapped in mysteries, reminders that most of Earth's octopuses remain unstudied and largely unknown. The ocean keeps its secrets well, and octopuses are among the best-kept secrets of all. This unknown diversity extends even to well-studied regions. New octopus species are discovered regularly, sometimes hiding in plain sight among what were thought to be single widespread species. Genetic analysis reveals that what appeared to be one species is actually several similar-looking species that rarely interbreed. Each discovery redraws the octopus family tree, adding branches and complexity. Current estimates suggest there are around 300 octopus species, but this number increases steadily as exploration continues and technology improves. The true diversity of octopuses remains uncertain, likely higher than currently recognized. Among known species, the giant Pacific octopus holds the record for size, reaching arm spans of 6 meters and weights of 50 kilograms or more. These individuals are rare. Most giant Pacific octopuses are much smaller, but the maximum size demonstrates the potential of the octopus body plan. A 50-kilogram octopus with no bones, no shell, nothing but muscle and nerve and intelligence is an impressive creature, a living demonstration that protection does not require armor when you have flexibility and brains. The giant Pacific octopus moves through kelp forests like a ghost, silent and strange, too large to fear most predators, hunting crab and fish with calm assurance. At the opposite extreme, the smallest octopuses measure just a centimeter or two as adults, tiny creatures living in reef crevices or among rubble. The starsucker pygmy octopus is barely larger than a jelly bean, yet possesses all the complexity of its larger relatives. 3 hearts, distributed intelligence, color-changing skin, problem-solving ability. Size scales down, but sophistication does not. These miniature octopuses, just as behaviorally complex as their giant cousins. They hunt copepods and tiny shrimp, mate and reproduce, live and die in spaces so small a human hand could not fit. The ocean accommodates diversity of scale as easily as diversity of form. Between these extremes exist octopuses of every intermediate size, each species filling its particular niche in marine ecosystems. The California two-spot octopus thrives in temperate Pacific waters. The Caribbean reef octopus inhabits tropical Atlantic reefs. The southern sand octopus burrows in seafloors off Australia. Each has adapted to its environment, evolving strategies suited to local conditions, while maintaining the core octopus traits: intelligence, flexibility, solitary living, brief life. They are variations on a theme. Nature exploring the possibilities of the cephalopod form across countless environments and conditions. This evolutionary exploration continues today. Octopuses are not finished products but works in progress, still changing as environments change and selection pressures shift. The octopuses alive now are not the final form but simply the current form, one frame in a movie that has been playing for hundreds of millions of years and will continue long after humans have disappeared. They will keep evolving, adapting, diversifying, filling niches that we cannot predict. The octopus lineage has survived mass extinctions, ice ages, dramatic climate shifts, and continental rearrangements. It seems likely to survive whatever comes next. Part of their evolutionary success comes from genetic flexibility. Octopuses have large genomes with many genes, and they supplement this genetic diversity with something unusual: extensive RNA editing. Where most animals use genetic information as written in their DNA, octopuses actively edit the RNA messages before they are translated into proteins. This allows octopuses to fine-tune protein function in response to environmental conditions, particularly temperature. An octopus can adjust its neural proteins to function well in cold water or warm water by editing RNA rather than waiting for genetic mutations. This gives octopuses rapid adaptation capacity beyond what most animals possess. This RNA editing focuses particularly on nervous system proteins, suggesting it plays a role in maintaining brain function across varying conditions. An octopus moving between cold, deep water and warm surface water needs neurons that work well at both temperatures. Through RNA editing, it can modify the proteins that regulate neural signaling, keeping its brain functional across temperature ranges that would impair most other animals. This is adaptation in real time, within the lifetime of individual animals, a flexibility that complements the longer-term adaptation of evolution across generations. The octopus exists in multiple timescales simultaneously, changing on the fly while also changing across millennia. Despite their sophistication, octopuses remain vulnerable in ways that intelligence cannot overcome. They must breathe water, extract oxygen from what flows through their gills, and when that water becomes depleted of oxygen, they have no recourse but to move or suffocate. They must maintain appropriate body temperature, and since they cannot generate internal heat, they are at the mercy of water temperature. They must find food regularly because their high metabolism and active lifestyle require constant energy input. These fundamental biological needs constrain where octopuses can live and what they can do. Intelligence is powerful, but it cannot violate the laws of chemistry and physics that govern living things. Yet within those constraints, octopuses have carved out remarkable lives. They have become the most intelligent invertebrates on Earth, developed sophisticated sensory systems, mastered camouflage, evolved distributed consciousness across multiple neural centers, and adapted to environments from poles to tropics, surface to abyss. They represent an alternative pathway to complexity, proof that there are multiple ways to build a successful animal. When humans search for intelligent life in the universe, we might consider the octopus a model for how alien intelligence could be familiar enough to recognize as consciousness, but strange enough to challenge our assumptions about what minds must be. These creatures share our planet, swimming through the same oceans that cover most of Earth's surface, living lives parallel to ours but utterly different. They perceive reality through senses we partially lack, think thoughts with brains unlike ours, solve problems with 8 arms instead of 2 hands. They are our distant relatives, separated by vast evolutionary time, but connected by the thread of life that links all living things. In their strangeness, they reflect back to us the contingency of our own form. We might have been so different. Consciousness might have taken countless other shapes. Intelligence is not limited to creatures like us. And now the octopuses fade behind your thoughts. We've drifted through 100 quiet truths about these soft-bodied creatures, from their 3 hearts and blue blood, to their distributed intelligence and brief lives, from their color-changing skin to their shape-shifting bodies, from their solitary existence to their remarkable minds. You are connected to this world. You share chemistry with the octopus, the same basic building blocks, the same water that comprises most of your cells. You share this planet, this moment in time, this ocean that touches every shore. Somewhere in the dark water, an octopus is extending its arms across coral, tasting with its suckers, watching with eyes that resemble yours, thinking thoughts we cannot access. Tonight, as you rest, octopuses continue their quiet hunting in oceans around the world. They squeeze through crevices, change colors in sleep, tend eggs in dark dens, and you are safe, warm, resting in a world full of wonder that you are only beginning to understand. If you're still awake, go ahead and watch the next chapter. Sleep well and dream softly. Good night.